I'm Stephen John Drew from Better Podcasting, a podcast about podcasting, part of the Gonna Geek Network. Just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find fantastic geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
And welcome to Play Comics, where once again we're here looking at a video game based on a comic property and how well it represents that source material. And today we are going down into the deepest, darkest reaches of hell. Well, maybe not the deepest, darkest reaches, because we have looked at Spawn. But today we're looking at the tie-in game for the 2004 Constantine movie. I don't remember how time works anymore. I have Merrilee O'Neill here from Fear Coded.
But hi, I'm Merrilee. I am one of the three co-hosts on Fear Coded podcast, which is one of the many lovely podcasts on the Glitterjaw network. Our specialty is we take a queer reading of a single book, video game, other podcast, TV show, anything that lives in the horror genre is ours to explore, and we look at that thing through the lens of queer theory.
So as I bombarded you with messages on hey, you should come on the show because I think it would be really fun. What was it about this Constantine game that just really jumped out to you and made you say, oh crap, I want to do that one?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm very easily led onto other podcasts. You said, hey, let's come onto my podcast. And I said, absolutely, but when? I'll show up with bells on. So please don't make it sound like you dragged me anywhere. I'm very excited to be here. And secondly, it was on your list of things you really wanted to talk about. And I am a huge fan of the Constantine movie as well as the Hellblazer comics. So, and I had no idea that there was a tie-in video game to that movie that I love very much. So I immediately was like, yes, please, that one. Thank you.
Meanwhile, my history with it is I knew that this movie existed.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt Ryan, who is not the old Falcons quarterback, was in the
Mm-hmm.
Arrowverse.
Yes. Yeah. He was on the Heroes of Tomorrow show, I think. I will be honest, that is the only Constantine TV show that I have not actually watched myself. I loved the Constantine show that he was on, like his solo show that got absolutely axed by the network. But luckily everybody loved his portrayal of the character so much, they gently scooped him up and led him into other DC properties. And frankly, I love that for me personally.
And honestly, that is the extent of my knowledge. Like, I knew that he was related to hellish things somehow,
Mm-hmm.
and that is about it. So having somebody who was so excited to come on to talk about this game and this movie were just, it really made my heart happy because I knew that I would have somebody who would know what they were talking about.
Well, I'll do my very best to try and live up to that.
One of the things that I did getting ready for this, besides watching the movie, because that would be really good, is tell you that I forget my exact words because I refuse to pull up the chat right now so I don't get distracted. But it was essentially, I have so many questions,
Mm-hmm.
and I promise I am not just doing a bit.
Yes. And I have been on tenterhooks for about 24 hours now, desperate to know what you meant by that.
So, I mean, really, the first question that I'm wondering is, what universe is this thing supposed to take place in?
So that is a very fun question. Do you mean the Hellblazer comics or do you mean the movie? Because clearly the video game is supposed to be in the movie continuity, but that is a different answer.
Let's go with both, because I kept hearing about Angela, who I'm pretty sure is a Marvel character or a Spawn character, depending on if you're talking to Todd McFarlane or that other guy who created him, whose name I don't want to say right now.
Mhm.
Mammon is from Spawn, but they
Mhm.
kept talking about Mammon.
I mean, he's also from the Bible, to be clear. Like,
Isabel's Borg tag is 616.
so here's the thing.
There's so many things.
There's so many things. The Hellblazer comics and Constantine. I'm going to use the British pronunciation there because I'm talking about the comic book character. He is canon to the DC universe. You will now see him a lot of the time in like Justice League Dark stuff or palling around with like Batman. He's like the unofficial magic consultant for a lot of like Batman stuff if Zatanna's busy, which I think is very funny. And he's also in the Sandman comics, which is actually one of the places where I was introduced to the character personally. But in the movie, it's very clearly its own thing. It's like they took the character and some of the supporting cast and plopped them into Los Angeles.
Oh, so Los Angeles is a new thing too, then?
Yes. Well, so that's actually part of the problem. A lot of when the movie that this game was based on came out, a lot of people really, like big Hellblazer fans, really, really, really did not like this film because they made John American. He's, Keanu Reeves and not like a blonde British lad from Leeds. He basically smokes and does stuff with Hell, and that's kind of the only like thing that they have in common. The character of John Constantine is very, very different from John Constantine. But I really feel like if you watch the movie on its own merits, it's incredible. It's a really amazing film. Like, I think that the world and the way that they have the characters move through it is so unique and interesting. I am very excited that we're actually going to get more movies in this world because I think that it's so unique. I can't wait to see it.
Did you grow up as a religiously person at all?
I did, yes. Yeah, so that's actually part of the reason why I liked this and I was so drawn to it when it came out when I was a much younger person. I was raised Catholic, so like all of that weird guilt stuff totally immediately got it. I was like, yes, of course.
Because, I mean, I was also raised Catholic. We did not learn about all this stuff. I mean, there was a little bit of possessions might happen. And my mom liked watching The Exorcist with me because we're a little bit crazy. But like this full-on demon possession and everything and crossing over from hell and all of that stuff. Yeah, we didn't get into that.
Yeah, I don't think that was like a regular Catholic experience. I was a weirdo, and interested in learning about the deep esoteric nonsense, but that wasn't the everyday experience in my household. I have always been like this, I fear.
Well, I mean, that's just part of growing up Catholic is being a little bit of a weirdo.
Oh, absolutely.
With all this stuff. Although this really would have been the perfect place to have some biblically accurate angels.
Oh, absolutely. Unfortunately, that is not in the cards. I do like what they do with the concept of angels in the film universe here. I think it's very interesting the way that they've decided that how the balance works and how like angels are able to influence reality. I think is very, very neat. Specifically, like there's a scene about halfway through the film where John is explaining to Angela about how the balance works, and he's talking about like the influence peddlers. Specifically, they're talking about Balthazar versus a nameless guy who just so happens to be the cashier at a liquor store, and they talk about how like one small word can like change a person's fate. And I think that if you were an angel trying to, or at least partially an angel, trying to make a real measurable difference in human lives and end human suffering, I think being a cashier at a liquor store, underrated spot to be hanging out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you'd see people at some really low points in their life. You'd see people in some really high points in their life. Like, that just makes too much sense to not be happening somehow.
Right? And then in the game, they kind of play with that idea. I don't think it's way less successful, but there's a line of dialogue how angels are constantly playing at like being janitors or like menial task people for like humble cosplay reasons, I think. And I just don't think that they got what the movie was doing in that scene. Does that make sense, or am I like way off on a limb?
Oh, I mean, everything makes sense and nothing makes sense with this. It's part of why I think it's so much fun, because you can have so many little interpretations of things and all the weird connections and like all the historical and biblically historical stuff. If somebody wants to get into the weeds with that, I think it's really fun. It did make me wonder if there are any DC characters that, you know, regularly deal with Nazis outside of wartime stories, because I honestly couldn't think of anything.
I mean, maybe there are some, or will be some, in about 5 years, after hopefully some things change politically here. Would be so nice. But no, I feel like the Nazi fascination with mysticism does pop up more than you'd think. Not necessarily in comics, but just like in media. Like that's what the whole Indiana Jones films are based around, basically.
I just think it's weird that I can't think of anybody that does it in DC, because Marvel, you have Captain America going up against Red Skull. Other comics have their stuff going on, but DC, I just can't really think of anyone unless it's actually set in a wartime. And this movie is largely pushed ahead by somebody finding a spear that has the blood of Christ on it.
Yes, the Spear of Destiny, the famous Spear of Destiny that pierced Jesus' side on the cross. That's the whole thing. I learned about that from the librarians.
Conveniently found in Mexico.
Yeah, well, don't worry about it. Nobody would look there, I think. So there's that, which is fun.
Yeah, Brazil and Argentina might be a little bit on the nose.
Way closer to Los Angeles in Mexico, so.
Oh yeah, that too. Honestly, this is a game and a movie that I had been waiting on purpose to watch the movie for before we could record this one. And a lot of the movie tie-in games, if I haven't seen the movie already, that's pretty much what's going to happen, because I just want to hold on to it and get a really like fresh look at it, some real fresh eyes, try not to ruin anything by having too long to think about it, because I feel like the whole point of this show kind of is, hi, here's this thing that I don't know much about, like, can I use these other things to get into the comic? And so, like, how close does this movie get to comic things?
Nowhere close. Nowhere close. Absolutely not. I simply would not recommend somebody who's interested in Hellblazer to watch this film. I think that this is a movie for people who like movies and want a good story. This is not for Hellblazer fans. I would recommend the Sandman TV show. Has a really great Lady Constantine, played by Jenna Coleman. She's fantastic. Or the Hellblazer TV show specifically would be better, because they have a better connection to the comic character, who is a deeply unpleasant man that I love so much.
And on complete blind faith. Oh, I didn't even mean to do that kind of pun. But on that, I'm also going to assume that any of the DC animated things would also be better, because they're DC animated and those are just by rule good.
Yes. I have not seen anything with, it's been a couple of years since I've sought out DC animation stuff, but I think probably would be way better. Especially because I have seen a clip where Constantine says that King Shark is his ex, and that is the right kind of energy for my baby girl, John Constantine.
On that note, I'm gonna try to figure out how biology matches up while I drop some promos for a few other shows.
Batman Nightcast is back with new episodes every month.
This time, we're covering the Dark Knight stories we overlooked in previous iterations of this show.
Anyway, I'm Chris Franklin.
And I'm Ryan Daly.
Join us as we find our joy with Batman Comics chronicling the Caped Crusaders' first adventures with the Boy Wonder.
thrill as we review the fiendish plots of a who's who of villains like Poison Ivy, Killer Croc, Gentleman Ghost, and Clayface 3.
If this is a bit, I don't understand it.
Hey Kids, comics by legendary creators Don Newton, Neil Adams, Marshall Rogers, and Bill Sienkiewicz.
Plus, the single greatest Batman story ever told.
It all comes back to Batman Nightcast.
I don't know what's happening right now.
New episodes every month.
Batman Nightcast, part of the Fire and Water Podcast Network.
Wanna make something of it?
Did you fall on your head?
Adventures in Aurelia, a D&D podcast with new players to learn alongside.
Adventures in Aurelia, a D&D podcast where everyone has a good time.
Adventures in Aurelia, a D&D podcast that is casual and inclusive.
Adventures in Aurelia, a D&D podcast with lots of lore and creativity.
Adventures in Aurelia, a podcast where 5 friends sit around the table and record themselves playing Dungeons and Dragons. Find us at adventuresinaurelia.com. That's ERYLIA.
Those were some great things to check out. But first, let's finish up here. So Merrilee, what's really bringing us together here is this February 2005 game. Came out for the PS2 and the Xbox, made by Bit Studios and THQ. It's a game. It's one of the games that exists.
Yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised in some ways by this game, because obviously this came out at a time where the perception was if it was a video game movie tie-in, it was probably going to be bad. But it was actually way better than I was expecting it to be. However, I don't think it's great. And I do think specifically the ending kind of sucks. But it makes sense why it's like that, because you can't really have the interesting, nuanced ending of the movie in a video game. Does that make sense?
Are you telling me that we can't look at the philosophical debate on suicide and how that affects your eternal soul in a PlayStation 2 game?
Apparently not. And you can't have I think it's Peter Stormare, Eric, what's his name? You can't have him show up in one scene as the devil, be the coolest thing in the fucking movie, and then have the plot be solved by not the main character. Simply can't have that. His name is Peter Stormare, I got it right. You have to have a massive boss battle between Constantine and the big bads of the situation, or what I guess. I don't know. I would have preferred the movie ending, but I understand why you have to have that action climax.
I don't want to say that this game is horrible.
It's not great.
It is a movie tie-in game. It's a movie tie-in game from that age where when they made them, it wasn't just like you said that people thought they were bad. Like, they were actually bad. They were pumping these things out, having the timeline of the game need to line up with the movie, not being able to finish things the way that they wanted to or should have been able to. I think that games that play the plot of the movie have an extremely hard time with it.
Yeah. Because, you know, like, they would have cutscenes where movie stuff happens, and then we're like, okay, great. Now do 5 things and kill a bunch of guys in between the other movie cutscenes.
And, you know, this is one where it's largely a plot-driven movie. Like, if this was a sports game somehow, then, okay, you do that and you play the plot of the movie, but then you play your sports game, and, you know, that's just kind of fun in itself. You have a game like this, and okay, it's repetitive. You having to go in and kill people. It's weird. I mean, you do have a boss battle where you're fighting against Tilda Swinton, so that's cool.
That is cool. You know, I was pleasantly surprised by the number of different weapons you could use, the number of different enemies, because there are a lot more demons in the game than there were demons in the movie. So, you know, they clearly were putting in effort, even if one of the demons did look just like Lord Z from the Power Rangers, mixed with a little bit of a Cenobite from Hellraiser, just a little strange, but they tried, they put in a lot of effort. I feel like if they could have had somebody look over the script maybe one more time, that would have been a better use of their energy. But you can't say that they weren't trying, I think, is the praise I would like to give to this video game.
But is it the praise that you're actually going to give the game?
No, I really hate what they did with Angela. She's in barely 5 minutes of it, mostly just a MacGuffin. And she is the deuteragonist of the film. Her twin sister isn't mentioned, and we basically get nothing for her, and that kind of sucks.
What a complete waste of a Rachel Weisz character.
Truly! I mean, they did a okay job on her likeness, better than they did for Keanu, but not as good as Balthazar and Tilda Swinton, because they were good. The guy who's playing Balthazar, I almost thought was the actor from the movie. Even he was doing such a good impression. But yeah, I wish that they had given her more to do. Unfortunately, you can't have 3 hours of Constantine wisecracking and shooting people with a nail gun called the Crucifier, which again, excellent. And also have plot, I guess.
I mean, you can. That's how you pad out games now. But in a system where you can't have that be DLC and actually have it be gettable by a large group of people, it makes sense that you don't have that kind of thing in here.
Mm-hmm. And you know, again, like they did add a lot. Like there's a lot more magic in the game than there was in the movie. Like Constantine is constantly tossing around like spells or learning new things. Like there's a lightning spell, and you can turn demons to stone. I don't think any of the spells are like good for gameplay, but they exist.
This is one of the ones where I'm really wondering how the timeline of developments lined up.
Yeah.
Because there's stuff that, like you were saying, that just aren't in the movie, but makes sense that they could have been in the movie at one point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tried to like look into it, like see what kind of information I could find on the game. There's not a lot to be found on this particular entry into the universe, which I thought was a real bummer.
And usually these things are just really fun to look at because there's like, yes, it's bad, but there's like this one or two things that's just really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't really able to find it with this one.
Yeah, I don't know. In my research, I found that most reviewers gave this game like a C average, and I really feel like that's the kind of effort we're getting here. They did a lot of work in things that maybe weren't the best uses of their time, but for the most part, it's mostly fine, if a little boring, you know?
And it's really weird because I am, or at least should be, on record as saying that you should have more games that, you know, are allowed to come out. And, you know, if everything is an A+, then nothing is.
Mm-hmm.
But I still get so disappointed with something like this. And it might just be because I've gotten too close to the source material here,
mm-hmm.
in the fact that it's based on a comic and I'm doing things for the show and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, it might be because I just really wanted this to be close to a Constantine thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or at the very least, the movie. If it was closer to what the movie was doing, I think that would be awesome. Because again, I'm a huge fan of what that film is up to. I genuinely think it's not like any other movie I've ever seen. But all of the strengths don't really end up in the game, besides the fact that you keep going to hell for some reason and it looks like Los Angeles on fire. Okay, sure.
I can totally believe that Los Angeles on fire is what hell looks like, though.
Oh yeah, no, like again, it's a genius bit of like lore building, but not necessarily relevant to the video game, because the game looks so ugly. I mean, maybe it's just like because of how distant we are. I'm sure it looked fantastic at the time, but the game has that same thing that Batman Arkham Asylum did, where it's got like the detective vision, basically, where like you can change the color contrast and have things that stand out more, right? And there's no reason to turn that off. So the game ends up looking a little bit like shit.
I mean, the problem there is it's 4 years earlier on a console generation earlier as well. And just anything PS2 that's really tried to look super realistic
is not working out.
They just don't age well. Like anything doesn't age well.
It's just a lot of the, even without the detective vision on, a lot of the scenery all looks really bland, because it's supposed to be Los Angeles and hell. So it's all that same color tone. And if it's not there, it's in gray buildings. So it's all that same color tone.
Now I'm a little bit worried that I'm going to know somebody who worked on this.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost don't want to look through the manual to find out, but I will as soon as I can find a better scan.
Listen, if you worked on this game, please genuinely reveal yourself. I would love to know more about the thought process. And I know that you did your best. Please tell me more about the weird demon designs that you have.
I actually want to see more cool demon designs.
Right? Like the stuff that they had were pretty cool.
And being just hell demons that you're pulling out of the depths of hell, you can make them look like whatever you want.
Yeah. I mean, they had, I think they were called infestor demons, which were the mini boss that we fought a couple of times in the game, where it was made up of like all of the different like bugs or like vermin, I think like crabs and like rats and all of that stuff. And then you have like the soldiers that look like skeletons or people who have been like destroyed a little bit. But then everything else that you see in the game are game originals. And that's cool as shit.
This is definitely not one that I'm going to convince my wife to play.
No, I really don't think anybody needs to play this game. It's fine. Some cool things, some kind of bad things. But for the most part, I think this is fine being forgotten in the game bin of history, if you know what I mean.
Unfortunately, I do. I mean, as we start to wrap things up on this one, let's just completely forget about comparing it to the movie, because I just want to completely break my heart now.
Okay.
What does this one get right looking at Constantine just as the comic franchise?
Oh, almost nothing. Hellblazer is, I guess there are some characters that share similar names, like Papa Midnight. No, I think that's it. Yeah, very, very, very few things in common. Because again, like the movie, very little to do with the Hellblazer comics. And then this is a further abstraction from there.
I guess I was hoping that maybe the game differed from the movie, but did it in a way that backtracked onto being more accurate to the comics. And it sounds like that did not do that at all.
No, I mean, so John Constantine is a magician. He uses magic to do things. So the fact that this John is throwing spells around potentially, depending on how you play the game, I don't recommend it because the spells don't really do much and are a little complicated to pull off. But the fact that you can use magic, that's a little more comic accurate. But those aren't the kinds of spells that he would typically be slinging, if that makes sense.
Oh, totally makes sense.
But
I almost don't want to ask you, but what does it get wrong?
Okay. So first and foremost, Constantine is going to hell, not because, he killed himself and that means that he's punted downstairs forever. He's going to hell because he was a bad person. He's genuinely not a nice guy. And specifically, he had the soul of a little girl, like a young child. I think she's about like 8. She was dragged to hell because of something that he did. And this is like the sin that is weighing him down forever. Like he got this little girl, innocent child, sent to hell. So that's why he's a bad person. And everything that he does kind of comes from that and his own hubris, which is his number one sin. In the movie, they have it so like he's able to see through this like facade and deal with the angels and demons who are influencing the world. And that's not necessarily how things work for the comics. He is a magician who learned how to do magic in a level that is a very high level, but like he's not like Dr. Fate with immense magical powers. He's just simply a guy who is fucking around in a pool that is way too deep for him. So it's not like he was damned with this power from birth. No, he chose to learn magic, and he got really good at it, but not as good as he thought that he was, and that caused a lot of problems initially for him. So all of that stuff kind of throw out. Also, the idea of like Christianity isn't necessarily, I mean, there's hell and angels and stuff, but it's more of a DC universe kind of hell and angels and stuff. Again, the Sandman comics and the Hellblazer comics are directly in continuity with each other. So that's the kind of heaven, hell situation that we're dealing with.
Okay, so more of, I guess, kind of along the lines of Spawn.
Yeah, Spawn, and then you can't talk about Hellblazer without specifically talking about Swamp Thing specifically is where Constantine comes from. Like, he was originally a character from Constantine that kind of like, Constantine was originally a Swamp Thing character that kind of got his own spin-off. So that's the kind of magic world that we're dealing with, Swamp Thing.
Okay, so it sounded like I just need to completely forget the fact that I watched this movie.
Yeah, 100%.
And go read the Hellblazer comics.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good stuff out there. I know I'm about to recommend some, again, I've been talking about the Sandman comics, and I'm going to recommend another thing by that same author who is just a detestable person. And I don't want to be recommending him, but he did write a really incredible comic called Books of Magic that was written well before Harry Potter was the twinkle in that transphobe's eye, about this child in the universe who had like this amazing magical skill. He was a little, like a white kid with like green eyes and black hair and round glasses. So the people are like, oh, it's a Harry Potter ripoff. But no, it was way before then. And they have 3 people in the DC universe who have like a lot of magic skill, like try and teach him magic. And Constantine is one of them. And Books of Magic is really, really good. But unfortunately there's that caveat again, the author is just such a piece of shit. So any kind of recommendation with that, you simply have to acknowledge that.
Well, that's the fun part where other people did work on things too. So it isn't entirely going toward the garbage person.
Yeah.
In this case. And if you buy things used or find other ways to get them, then people don't get your money.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's very easy to find, like, I know that I bought it secondhand when I got Books of Magic for the first time, if only because it was out of print. I don't know if it ever came back in print or not, but if you can find a copy.
It's certainly probably not going to now.
Yeah, for real. But there are lots of other places where you could find Constantine and Hellblazer. Particularly, this is not a well-reviewed comic, and in fact I'm about to say some mean things about it as well. I don't think it's very good, but the concept of it was so fun. I still have a real fondness in my heart for it. There is a Hellblazer comic that is basically, the idea is that John is brought in to be a consultant on this reality TV show that's kind of like a Big Brother style, that is having a haunting, and they like bring him in as if he is a new contestant on this show. But then as it turns out, that's not the case at all. The whole thing has been a trap. This is a reality show for hell, and they have all, in signing the waivers to be on the show, sold their souls. It is such a silly comic. And again, the writing is not good, but I just think that that's so much fun. I still love it. It's called Dark Entries by Ian Rankin. And it was a book from a Vertigo sub-imprint that I just so happened to get. And I just thought it was, what a fun concept.
It almost sounds like the Mojoverse presents Undercover Boss,
sort of. But if it's Undercover Boss, where again you are trying to trick the boss into signing away their immortal soul.
I mean, you're right. That sounds amazing. I'm gonna go find it.
Right? Again, I feel bad throwing this out as a rec because again, I do not think the writing in this is particularly good. But I just love it. I really, like, that's my problematic fave.
That kind of thing is why I like having the publisher apps.
Mm-hmm. And if you are interested in Hellblazer, the TV show, I think, is a really good entryway into it. But you have to just get through the first couple episodes, and then it actually gets good.
I feel like I probably don't have to ask you this, but I'm going to anyway, just because it's how the show works.
Mm-hmm.
If you knew somebody who wanted to get in Constantine, would you give them this game as part of a primer course?
No, I really wouldn't. I feel bad, but no, I really wouldn't. If I was going to include anything, I would include the movie with the heavy caveats is this isn't important, but it is a good film, so you can watch it. The game is like the movie, but worse.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can't find any reason to recommend the game here. Normally I can find something, I can twist something around, like it can be important enough, or there's this one part that's good enough, but this one is, I mean, it's a game that barely connects to a movie that barely connects. And
yeah,
I mean, you're right, the movie's fun for what it is. I wish it had been like Constantine's American cousin or something.
If you think about it as its own thing and divorce it from the comics entirely in your mind, it is a phenomenal film. But it is not Hellblazer.
Well, one way we can make the movie better is just having Muppets in there. Obviously, Keanu has to stay Keanu because he's a Muppet anyway, just in real life.
Absolutely.
But what Muppets would you add specifically to be some more types of demons in this one?
Oh, well, more types of demons. I think Oscar the Grouch would have a lot of fun, especially with like the Infestor Demon. And I think Tilda Swinton and Miss Piggy having a diva off would be kind of appointment viewing. So everybody should want to watch that.
I love those picks so much. I mean, the only other thing I can think of to add at all is I want to see a horde of the Electric Mayhem going down the street.
Oh, wow. Yes. Amazing. Immediately co-signed.
Well, Merrilee, it has been great talking to you about all of this. If people want to hear more from you, where else can they find you around the internet?
Well, again, I really would love to just first and foremost, thank you so much for having me. This was a delight. I really loved being able to talk about a film that I genuinely love, a comic series that I really love, and a game that was interesting to think about. But if you want more from me, I am on Fear Coded Podcast. We release an episode every Monday. They should be available wherever you get your podcasts. And we can follow us on social media at Fear Coded Pod at Instagram and Blue Sky. I'm the person behind those accounts about 95% of the time. So just come on and say hi.
Well, now you've just ruined the game of guess who's playing around on the account right now.
I don't know that Tyler has ever opened any of the apps, so it's simply not going to be him. David does sometimes, but mostly no, it's just me. And so I want to be clear, come say hi to me. I'm there. I have a couple different social media accounts. I mostly just hang out on the Fear Coded one because I can't be bothered to switch.
I mean, that's why I don't have personal ones anymore.
That's so fair.
They all would have been about the same thing anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't think my personal account is a good follow because I never use them unless I'm posting a picture of my cats. So, Fear Coded is way more fun.
Well, as always, we'll have links to all that stuff down in the show notes because clicking links is so much easier than trying to remember how to spell things. Meanwhile, if you want to find me, the best place to do that is over on playcomics.com, where you can find links to all the social media things, which is Threads and Blue Sky. It's just where I've settled. It's where I'm going to be, and it's where I'm happy, and also where other people like Muppets, who are cool, and all Muppets are cool. So if you like Muppets, you're cool, I hope. If you want to be on the show, then you can check out that list of things that Merrilee talked about that I'm looking to get booked the soonest. There's a link to it down in the show notes because, links and all that fun stuff. It is the best place to see what I'm looking to get booked the soonest because that is what I update, which makes sense because it is the thing that I point people towards. If you want to help support the show, then you can be like Oh No Lit Class or Dan McMahon and give the show money. There's links to that down in the show notes too. I'll bet you never would have guessed that part. Or you can just be a really cool person and tell other people about it. Tell your friends, your family, your enemies, that person at work that is always making sure that you have a donut when they bring in donuts. even if it means they don't get a donut themselves. They deserve some good in their life. And if you think they like this podcast, then share it with them, because I bet they would really appreciate it. Don't forget that Play Comics is a part of the GonnaGeek.com network, home to such wonderful shows as Capes on the Couch, where Doc and Anthony, well, I don't know. They haven't done a Spider-Gwen episode, so I don't know if I'm allowed to be their friend anymore. If you want to hear Carrington Martin and I talk about the pieces of children's media that we watched, and maybe not children's media, but we watched it when we were children anyway, and all those lessons we learned from it that we're just suddenly supposed to forget about now, then you want to go check out Sugar Spite and Everything is Fine. And guess what? There's a link to that down in the show notes too. There's lots of links in the show notes. You should really go check those out. I think it's a great time. Speaking of a great time, if you like the music that I'm rudely talking on top of right now, head on over to backingtrack.gg and check out all the great music over there, and maybe grab something for your own project. But most of all, just grab a game, grab a stack of comics, and go find yourself a new favorite character. But I have Merrilee O'Neil here from, wow, I'm completely blanking because it has been a day. I have Merrilee O'Neil here from Fear Coded.
It's been a rough 24 hours for all of us.